What's crack-a-lackin'? Welcome in to My Mind is a Weapon Fantasy Football Show.
Welcome into the episode of My Mind is a Weapon Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Sleaze. Today's episode is going to be the running back stardom, sit-em, everything for week 8 here. We got bye-mageddon going on, so 6 teams are on a bye. It is time to lock in. The Lions are on a bye, the Raiders, the Rams, the Cardinals, the Seahawks, the Jaguars. Get those running backs out of your lineups, guys. Come on, don't be silly and make a mistake like that. Now, before we dive into it, this is going to be where you get all the statistics, rushing yards allowed, points allowed to the position, receiving yards allowed to the position as well for the running back. So we'll look at those as well, where teams struggle, where teams front seven get after you, more passes are allowed to the running back. This is going to be the full send detailed breakdown, guys. Before we dive into it, as always, make sure you tap that thumbs up button, hit that subscription, turn that bell on so you know when I'm live. All the support is appreciated. I can't thank you enough. I'll be live all weekend long again this week. I'm not out of town or nothing again. If you guys haven't already, check out drafters.com, our sponsor. Make sure you use promo code SLEEZ. It will double your initial deposit up to $100. You can do best ball drafts, pick 'em, DFS drafts, everything. And we drop all of our pick 'em tickets and everything like that into our Discord, the Guys FF, that I run with Big Draft Energy, where we cover everything fantasy football 24/7 off stream. So if you guys haven't checked those out, they're pinned in the comments and in the description of the video. Now let's dive into my week 8 must-start sit running backs. So if you guys are new to the channel, this is my running back board. Green must start, yellow high and low and flex. We will talk about it. Red is a sit, away team is at the top, home team is at the bottom versus going down into it, guys. And we are going to kick it off with Thursday night football. The 3-3 Minnesota Vikings are headed into the 4-3 Chargers. LA is favored by 3.5. The over-under is 44.5 in this game. And update already is that Aaron Jones' 21-day window has been activated. The update was even last week that he's ready for week 8. This is week 8. We are here, and you're going up against the LA Chargers here. So the Chargers in the past 3 games have just fallen apart versus the running back. Now they rank 24th. They used to be a top 5 team versus the run. They've got shredded 3 weeks straight. The defense is struggling without Khalil Mack out there. And they give up 23.4 points per game, 643 on the ground. Again, they used to be top 5 in that category. 8 rushing touchdowns, which is tied for second worst, and 213 yards through the air. So almost about 900 yards now total compared to what they were giving up, like 80 yards a game. So now with the, situation between Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones now being probably a split backfield again, they're both going to be flex plays for me. They're both high-end flex plays for me as well because the Chargers are being gashed by the run. But I can't, put Jordan Mason. I had him as an anytime touchdown lock last week. I don't know how it's going to go this game. I think they could both give you 8 to 15 points in between combined together because I think it's going to be a tougher pass game against the Chargers pass because that's their strength. So in this situation, I like both of them as flex plays this week. And out of the Chargers side, man, I hope you guys listened last week. Kamani Vidal was not the play, and Kamani Vidal is not going to be the play again versus the Minnesota Vikings run D. They rank 12th. They've given up 19.5 points to the position in total per game, 613 yards, which is very, very good. That's below middle of the pack. They've given up 3 rushing touchdowns as well, and about 152 through the air and no touchdowns through the air. This is a very, very good run D of the Minnesota Vikings, and you saw that with Saquon Barkley last week. When I thought it was going to be a Saquon Barkley game, it was not. So there's no way I'm trusting Kamani Vidal again. I told you to sell high off that one game if you could, and I'm sitting every single Charger probably until Amari and Hampton is back or they trade for a running back. Oh, my Lanta, the 1-6 Miami Dolphins, and it is shit show in Miami right now. And somehow Mike McDaniel still has his job. I couldn't believe it. I thought he'd be fired after the game. Are headed in to face the 3-3 Falcons with Bijan Robinson. The over-under 44.5. Atlanta is favored by 7.5. And when it comes to Devon Achane, even last week versus Cleveland, right? He had that big 50-yard run. Then he had a couple more big receptions and another big run. He's all they've got. There's really, Jalen Waddle's in for a tough matchup. He got banged up last week. A.J. Terrell will be on him. Darren Waller, the tight end, rips his pec. We don't know how long he's out. And it's just, the wheels have just fallen off. But Devon Achane is the lone bright spot they have. And the matchup is not great for the Atlanta Falcons, but you just can't sit this guy, period, because they line him up everywhere. So they rank 15th right in the middle, 20.7, 573 on the ground, which is very, very good. Top 10 in the NFL there. 3 rushing touchdowns, 151 through the air, and 2 touchdowns through the air. And I think that's where Devon Achane is going to thrive in this game. I like his reception, receiving props, everything in that aspect, because they're going to use him all over the field. And Malik Washington really hasn't had that breakout. They really have nothing going in Miami. It's really, really sad. I feel bad for Achane, but he's going to be the full load every single week. Now, on the Falcons side, Bijan Robinson should be RB1 this week, 100%. And guys, if you were in the show last week, Quinshon Judkins is the easiest call. It doesn't take a content creator brain or anybody to tell you. You start everybody versus the Miami Dolphins run D. Kamani Vidal lit them up. And we just talked about Kamani Vidal. And I sat him last week and told everyone to sit him. You start everybody versus the Miami Dolphins. And with Tua, probably, say the Falcons get up like 17-3 at half or something, you probably got Quinn Ewers coming in. The Falcons defense going to tee off. They're going to have opportunities galore. And Tyler Algier might not even be a bad flex play that could fall in the end zone, because this Miami run defense is absolutely terrible. This one pains me, man. The 0-7 Jets, and it is over. It is completely over, are headed into the 3-4 Bengals, led by Joe Flacco. Cincinnati's favored by 6.5. The over-under is 44.5. Now, remember what I said with Breece Hall all year long, right? He's not going to return his return on investment at ADP. He's not going to be good unless he's traded. And where's the trade? Like, it's time to start making some moves, Jets. It is over. And it's also time to stash Braylon Allen, who's supposed to come back week 12 off IR. If you haven't already and you have an IR spot, go make sure you stash him, because it's got to be like Breece Hall is gone. Now, I want to say that Breece Hall is going to smash in this game versus Cincinnati Bengals. They give up 30.8 points. That is dead last over the Baltimore Ravens, who give up 29. And these two teams are 3 points ahead of the Dolphins. So that's how bad these teams are versus the running back. They've given up 859 yards on the ground, which is second worst. They've given up 310 yards through the air, which is second worst. And 4 passing touchdowns through the air, which is worst in the NFL. Now, we know Justin Fields is going to be probably benched for Tyrod Taylor. Does this help Breece? Maybe. But we don't know if Garrett Wilson is going to be out there. The box will be completely stacked either way. And I know the Bengals defense isn't that great, but the Jets play calling has just been so bad that Breece Hall is a flex play at best for me. And the matchup is the best in the NFL. And I still can't say to start him because the Jets have just been so bad. Now, onto the Bengals side. It's a little interesting here. We got a little life back from Chase Brown last week, right? And what I've talked about in a couple videos that I've dropped already so far is that what's happened with Joe Flacco is the defenses have to be honest now. They can't just sit there in the box with Jake Browning and just tee up on Chase Brown. Even though the Bengals offensive line is terrible, what Joe Flacco has done to this offense is exactly what I was preaching like 2 weeks ago when they signed him. He's the perfect signing for him. With a makeshift offensive line, you need a veteran that can make decisions quickly and pepper your number one in Jamar Chase, and that's what's happened. And now these defenses have to reel back a little bit and give Chase Brown a little more room, which you finally saw. Against Green Bay, obviously tougher defense when they played Green Bay. And you get the New York Jets this week, and you're probably going to have volume opportunities galore because we know the Jets offense sucks. So they rank 13th versus the running back. That's more than average. That's a good defense, 20.2, 702 yards allowed, 4 rushing TDs, 142 yards on the ground, and 2 passing TDs. So about a touchdown a game they're giving up in total. Now, Chase Brown does not have a great offensive line by any means. Probably the worst, if not tied with the Texans for the worst. But when you have a game script where you're going to get multiple opportunities, now you've got to worry about your wide receivers with a good quarterback. They can get them the ball. Chase Brown becomes a flex play, but it's still really, really scary for me. I know everyone's kind of riding high off one big week because you paid the high ADP for one of the biggest busts in fantasy football right now. I still like him as a low-win flex play because the offensive line is terrible. I'm not jumping the gun, but the opportunity should be here in bunches this week, and Chase Brown should have another flex playable week here. This is going to be a game where you kind of want to avoid the running backs, and it's going to sound crazy, but this is going to be the Cleveland Browns at 2-5, headed into the 5-2 New England Patriots. The over-under is 44.5, and New England is favored by 7.5. Now, when I'm looking at the Cleveland Browns running back, right, Quinshon Judkins, who I had as an absolute smash play last week, probably as everyone did on planet Earth, because that was one of the easiest calls there is. Now, you get the New England Patriots, and we'll just do both at the same time here. So I'm also putting Ramondre Stevenson and TreVeyon Henderson, who doesn't even exist in football right now, as sits, because you're going up against the Cleveland Browns. This defense is number one. They allow 15.8. They've allowed 494 yards, which is top 3 in the NFL. 3 rushing touchdowns, 129 yards on the ground, and 0 touchdowns there. That's about a 50% chance of a touchdown on the season through 6 games in total through the air and on the ground. Yards per carry, they are also unbelievable at number 1 at like 2.3 yards per carry. Now, I know Ramondre Stevenson's got more of the job. Trayvon Henderson's been benched. Could he be a volume flex play and maybe fall into the end zone? Yeah, but I'm not taking that chance against the Cleveland Browns. On to the Quinshon Judkins side, who had his monster game. The Patriots are also a top 6 defense, coming in at number 6, only giving up 413 yards on the ground. That's number 1 in the NFL. Now, they've also had, less attempts than the Cleveland Browns had against them. So when you look at yards per carry, Cleveland does win that battle because they're on the field more because their offense stinks, right? So they've only given up 2 rushing touchdowns, and they've also given up 291 on the ground and another touchdown through the air. This is going to be a tough sledding run game here. I've got Quinshon Judkins as a low-end flex play this week, not a high-end flex play. I mean, everyone's going to throw him out there because he came off a big game, which is fantasy football 101 mistake to me. I'm still flexing him, but I do not like as much of Quinshon Judkins or Ramondre Stevenson. These are 2 of the best run defenses in football, and I'm trying to stay away if I can. But if I need to throw Judkins in the flex, I'm not mad at it. I just don't love it. The 2-5 Giants and the electric Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo, who have just risen the freaking hype of the Giants to the max, who should have won that game against Denver last week, are headed into the Eagles for the Saquon Barkley revenge game at home. The Eagles are 5-2, 44.5 over under. Philly is favored by 7.5. And yet the Giants won the last game, which is crazy that it's 7.5. I think I'm taking the points if I'm a betting man here on the Giants. Now, when we're looking at this game here, Cam Scatterbo last week, I was kind of, wishy-washy if versus the Denver Broncos defense. No. Match-up proof. Strap up. Put your chin strap on and get rocked. Cam Scatterbo is so sick. I don't care what the matchup is anymore. And the matchup is absolutely great versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I know they've had Jalen Carter out a couple games. He should be back this week, which will help that front as well. So 23.4 points to give up, ranking 25th, 663 rush yards, 7 rushing touchdowns, 224 on the ground, and 2 TDs through the air. That is 9 touchdowns through 6 games. It's almost 1.3 touchdowns a game. I like Scatterbo to score here again. Now, in the Saquon Barkley thing, it's a revenge game versus the New York Giants, but I can't, this is scary territory right here. So this is probably the last time I'm going to have to move Saquon Barkley to flex here. After this, he has not been Saquon Barkley. He is not hurt. He has not got the Madden curse. The 300 touches has not phased him. Their offensive line is banged up, but they just cannot run the ball. It is crazy. And their offense passing game finally woke up. So maybe that'll open up the run game here a little bit. Maybe they've been, stacking the box because Jalen Hurts has been terrible. So you get the New York Giants. The New York Giants, they break 17th, giving up 21.7, 674 on the ground, 5 rushing touchdowns, so under a touchdown a game there. 201 through the air and a touchdown on the ground. So almost, a touchdown a game. We need Saquon to score here, fantasy owners. We need Saquon to bounce back. You got your at home on your turf against the team that traded you. This should be a Saquon smash game. And if he doesn't go over like 15 points here in this game, I'm going to start moving him down to the flex, which is freaking crazy. The 4-2 Bills coming off a bye are going to get the 4-3 Panthers, who have won 4 out of their past 5. And Andy Dalton is going to be the quarterback. Now, when we're looking at James Cook here, I don't care that it's James Cook. I don't care that the Panthers' run D's been good. They're number 11. They give up 19.4, 531 yards, only 3 rushing touchdowns. They've been very good versus the run. 199 yards through the air and 2 touchdowns through the air as well. So about, 120 yards a game they allow in total and like an 80% chance of a touchdown. This is the Bills coming off a bye. This is the Bills trending downward, also going into that bye. They needed this. They needed to bounce back. I am not sitting James Cook off a bye in any way, shape, or form, regardless if it was the number 1 team in the Cleveland Browns run D. I'm starting James Cook. Now, on the Panthers side here, this is going to be a nightmare all year long. I mean, since Rico Dowdle took the job against the 2 worst run Ds and shattered them, he also had, better yards per carry and more touches last week as well. 17 to Chuba Hubbard's 13, I believe, if I remember. And that's how it's going to be. And the Buffalo Bills matchup, it just game script dependent here, right? So, yeah, they're coming off a bye. Yeah, the Bills' defense is beat up. Are the Panthers going to stay in this game with Andy Dalton? Because if they do, the matchup is very, very good. Buffalo has struggled versus the run. They rank 27th, giving up 26.2, 700 yards on the ground, which is bottom 5 in the NFL. And they've also given up 157 on the ground. So almost, 900 yards through 6 games. That's like a 135 average. That is absolutely phenomenal. But again, it's probably going to be a split. So either or flex is fine. You're pretty much banking that you want your guy to hit the touchdown out of the 2, which is going to be a nightmare, kind of like the K9 Charbonnet situation, which I stayed away from all year, which now this situation is like stay away from all year. But if you have one of them, it's Mageddon week. I'm okay flexing either one of them because one of them is going to hit in this game. The Bills defense has been so bad versus the run. Again, it's just like, are the Bills just going to come out and smack them and you play full pass down? Then Chuba's probably more valuable in the passing game. So I would still lean Chuba by a little bit out of the 2, but you could probably flex both of them this week. The 4-2 Bears, who have won 4 in a row, are headed into the 1-5 Baltimore Ravens. 1-5. The over/under is 49.5, and Baltimore is favored by 6.5 at 1-5. Boom! That's a wild one, right? So this is an all systems green game. Start both running backs here. So DeAndre Swift, he lost the goal line work to Menunjay last week. Menunjay found the end zone. You got to look at that game also. That was a rain game script that led to like 40 carries for the Chicago Bears. That's unheard of. That is not going to be the game script here. They're going to need the explosive DeAndre Swift. But this is a first look at one of my sleeper plays that'll be in my video with Kyle Menunjay. So you do have all these running backs on a bye, right? So if you need a guy that's going to get the goal line work that could fall into the end zone against a very bad run D, it's Kyle Menunjay. But the automatic start is DeAndre Swift. I mean, the Ravens versus the run, they rank 31st. That's second last, getting up 29.1. 658, and they've had a bye. 7 rushing touchdowns, and they've had a bye. 238 through the air and 2 touchdowns. That's 9 touchdowns through 5 games. That is almost 2 touchdowns a game for the running back. DeAndre Swift is a must start, coming off a 100-yard game last week as well. He looked freaking great. Now, King Henry, the window is closed. I hope you guys bought when you could, because now the show is about to start. The 1-5 Ravens are not done. I am not counting them out by any means, but this will hinge on Lamar Jackson playing. I saw that they said, quote unquote, he's playing or trending to return week 8, but then he didn't practice on Monday with a hammy. I haven't seen today's update. I expect him to be out there to try and save this Ravens season, and this is going to be a lethal duo. I don't care about the matchup for the rest of the season. They are going to pound King Henry. You get the Chicago Bears. They rank 22nd, giving up 23 points a game. 665 on the ground, only 3 rushing touchdowns. They've been very good in the red zone. 159 through the air and 3 touchdowns there. That's about 800 yards and 6 total TDs, so about a touchdown a game. I like King Henry to absolutely destroy off the bye here. My somehow 5-2 49ers, led by Christian McCaffrey alone with all the injuries that we have, backpacking this team, comeback player of the year, possible MVP at 5-2. Make that make sense with all of our injuries, are headed into the 2-4 Houston Texans. Now, CMC, you're never going to sit this guy. I told you guys to draft this guy as the number 1 player all year long. I have the most best ball exposure to him. I love CMC. I know I'm a Niner fan, so it sounds biased, but goddamn, you saw last week, this guy is back. When George Kittle's back out there, the running game looks even more electric. I don't care who they're playing against. I don't care who the matchup is. When Christian McCaffrey is out there, you start him regardless. I'm not even going to read the Houston Texans defense because there's no way anyone on planet Earth should be sitting Christian McCaffrey. Now, onto the Texans side. Saw a little Woody Marks explosion last week. Or not going to say explosion, but he looked fast hitting that hole against Seattle. He got the little receiving touchdown, kind of garbage time there if you want to say so. But it looks like the Nick Chubb show is coming to an end here. And when you're going up against the 49ers defense, right? So the 49ers versus the run, Robert Saleh has us playing lights out. I say us because I'm a Niner fan, right? And everyone's hurt. Bryce Huff is now out. Our last standing good lineman is hurt. Bosa is out. Mykel Williams is banged up. Fred Warner is out. Stout is banged up. I mean, the whole freaking defense is banged up. And somehow we could lock up the Falcons. Robert Saleh deserves a defensive coach of the year. I mean, Shanahan deserves coach of the year hands down already through 7 games. It's not even close. But we have been struggling versus the run, but we've been good versus the yardage. We've given up 206 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air. You know the Texans have a terrible offensive line. Even if our defensive line is beat up, which it is, it's still going to be tough to run for the Houston Texans because their line is terrible. So I like Woody Marks as a low-end flex play, pacing that the game script is pass intended for him PPR-wise, right? He'll get more receiving work. He's the younger back. He's the better pass-catching back than Nick Chubb. You saw Nick Chubb drop one right through his hands last week as well. I mean, God, I used to love Nick Chubb. It sucks that his career is kind of going downhill like this. And then Joe Mixon, we don't even know if he's playing this year. So Woody Marks definitely a great buy right now too. If you could have even before this week, I mean, you got to go get him now because he's probably going to be a nice flex play weekly with the pass heavy script they have. So CMC always starting and Woody Marks flex play low end if you need this week. The 5-2 Bucks coming off that loss, and man, Baker Mayfield just didn't look himself versus Detroit. Are headed into the 1-6 Saints. No better get right game here, right? So the thing is we don't know yet. The over-under is 47.5. Tampa Bay is favored by 4.5. So Rachaad White obviously didn't look good versus that Detroit run D last night, right? But Bucky Irving was ruled out early last week for Monday. So I don't know if they're ruling him out early for him to play this week. They do have a bye next week. So it could be, even worse for Bucky Irving. Obviously, so I have them both as starts, and I'll break it down like if Bucky's out there, he's starting and Rachaad White's sitting. If Bucky's not out there, Rachaad White's starting and Bucky's sitting. Because you're going to get the Saints defense. And the Saints versus the running back are terrible. They rank 21st, giving up 23 points a game. They've given up 728 yards on the ground, which is bottom 5 in the NFL. 5 rushing touchdowns, 197 through the air, and 2 touchdowns through the air. That's 900-plus yards in total and 9 touchdowns they've given up to the running back. Like, what? Or, sorry, I think I said that wrong. 7 touchdowns to the running back. So, 1.2 touchdowns a game. This is going to be a smash play for either one of them. You got to look at the game script. Like, the Bucs are going to get more opportunities. So, again, pending on Bucky Irving's status, I'd start either one of them. Now, on to the Saints side. Interesting here. We have Kendre Miller, torn ACL, out for the season. Alvin Kamara, they quote-unquote don't want to trade, or he'll be sipping pina coladas and retire. So this could probably be the full Alvin Kamara show. And you're going to get the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They rank 26th versus the running back, 26 points. They've been good yardage-wise, 549, but they've given up 6 touchdowns. And here's the thing, 431 yards to the running back. That is the worst of the NFL by 130 yards. Alvin Kamara is a pass-catching god. Kellen Moore needs to open this up, and Alvin Kamara could have a big, big day here, and he's probably a must-start for the rest of the way if he gets his RB1 Alvin Kamara usage with Kendre Miller being down. Oh, the shootout game of the week. The Denver Broncos at 5-2 with their fourth quarter crazy win are going to be hosting the Dallas Cowboys, and this is wrong. J.K. Dobbins is a start for me this week. See, when you're going through live, you make mistakes as you go. So, looking at this game here, the over-under, I think it's 49.5 right now. I bet it goes up to like 51, 50.5 by the time we get to the week here. Dallas Cowboys. Now, like I talked about in the quarterback video. So, I don't think that you can sit anybody in this offense, right? I didn't like Cam Scatterbo last week versus the Denver run game, and obviously he actually lit him up. I know Javonte Williams' jump cut was nice, and everyone thinks that he's looking good. It is a revenge game for Javonte Williams as well. I guess the narrative, we got to start everybody in this game. Everybody. I mean, I know that you got Pat Surtain on CeeDee Lamb. So when you look at the Denver run D, and I really want to put Javonte as a flex play here, but I know that Scatterbo just lit him up a little bit, but they ranked 9th. They give up 19.1, 580 yards on the ground, only 2 rushing TDs. And guys, Javonte Williams has 4 touchdowns this year that have been pass interference in the end zone. So there is that as well to look at his numbers, right? So 270 through the air, 3 touchdowns. It's a revenge game. I got to say start Javonte, even though I don't like the matchup. No, J.K. Dobbins side, it feels like just R.J. Harvey is just non-existent. I mean, at all. And whenever you play the Cowboys defense, what do? You start them all. The Cowboys versus the running back ranked 29th, giving up 27 points a game, 724 yards on the ground. That's second worst in the NFL, behind the Miami Dolphins, who are the absolute trash can versus the running back. They've given up 5 rushing touchdowns, 377 through the air, so almost 1,100 yards in total to the running back through 6 games, and 2 touchdowns through the air. That's 7 touchdowns. 1,100 yards to just the running back position through 6. We played 6 games. That's almost 200 yards a game. J.K. Dobbins has to be a start. Javonte Williams, I don't like as much, but since the revenge game narrative is going to tip me over to put him as a start this week. The 1-6 Titans with the new coaching staff and Cam Ward and hopefully Calvin Ridley are headed into the best offense in the Indianapolis Colts that are 6-1, and it is crazy. Now, last week, what did I say with Kamani Vidal? I said, do not start Kamani Vidal versus the Colts run D. Colts run D is number 4 in the NFL, 496 yards allowed. That's it. That's top 5. 3 rushing touchdowns through 6 games. That's a 50% chance. And 199 yards through the air and a touchdown through the air. This defense is lights out. Cam Ward, they're going to be playing from behind heavy. Their rush yards are not going to be there. Maybe Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears save their day in garbage time with a couple dump offs. Not something I want to gamble on this week. Stay away. Colt side, do we really need to talk about it? Jonathan Taylor is going to just keep ripping the freaking NFL apart. Tennessee Titans are bottom 5 versus the running back. We don't even need to talk about it. You're starting Jonathan Taylor like CMC, and it's plain and simple. Sunday Night Football, the Aaron Rodgers revenge game. The Green Bay Packers are headed into the Pittsburgh Steelers. Man, I wish this was the other way around. I wish this was the Steelers heading into Green Bay so we could get Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau. Come on, NFL. You got to know that. You got to be better. I'm just messing around. Now, when we're looking at this game, Josh Jacobs, this guy just 15 games with 14 touchdowns. There's no way you're benching this guy regardless of who he's going up against. And I've talked about this through a couple shows now. The Steelers' run D was bad last week. So this may be the week that they're good, because they are bad, then they're good, then they're bad, then they're good, then they're bad, then they're good. They've been a 50-50 train ride the whole way against the run, which makes no sense. It's not like they're better at home than they are away. It's just every other game. So Josh Jacobs, either way, don't care. We'll look at the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, though. He's kind of like a CMC, like a Jonathan Taylor. You just start him. They rank 10th, give up 19.3. Top 10 defense versus the run. Don't care. I'm starting Josh Jacobs. Now, the Jaylen Warren side, this one's kind of interesting. So he got the full workload for the first time, coming off the injury at like a 70% snap share. And you get the Green Bay Packers run D. They're number 5. So this is more like a bold call here by me. I should put him as a flex, but I'd like him as a start this week. I like him to find the end zone because this is the Aaron Rodgers revenge game. So the matchup's terrible. They get 399 yards on the ground. That's number 1. It's not even close, right? But they've also had a bye, so you got to remember that. 2 touchdowns through 5 games. Not good there. 40% chance. 154 yards to the air, 0 touchdowns. None of it makes sense. Jaylen Warren should be a flex play at best. I just like him as a start in this game because I think Aaron Rodgers is going to go absolutely nuts. He's going to be pissed off at the Green Bay Packers. I can't wait for this game. So, statistically, I would put him as a flex. I'm just starting him because it's just the revenge game, and I think Rodgers is going to have a big, big day. Monday Night Football, last but not least, a sit-em section for me. The Washington Commanders are headed in to the Kansas City Chiefs. And see, this is how you know we're getting towards the end of the video. Everything's starting to get off. I do not like Isaiah Pacheco in this game, and I do not like Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt either in this game. So hang on as we're going through it here. Let me drop him down here. Okay. So Monday Night Football, it looks like we're going to have no JD5, right? If JD5 is out there, obviously it may put Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt into a flex play for me at best if needed. 47.5. KC's favored by 10.5. So they're telling you the game script right there, and they're telling you that they don't think JD5 is playing, and neither do I. So when you look at the defense they're going up against, the Kansas City Chiefs, they rank 7th versus the running back, allowing 546, only 3 touchdowns, 216 through the air, and a touchdown there. So 4 total TDs, about a 60% chance to score, and about 700 yards. So, about 110, 115 yards a game for the running back in total. But JCM's been splitting a little bit more here with McNichols, and you see, Chris Rodriguez as well. So not the highest, best game script I want to see here because I don't think he's the pass catching back. And I think the Chiefs are just going to mop him out the building. This offense is electric with Rashee Rice back. It is over. They might not lose a game. So Brashard Smith, this is another one of my sleeper plays this week. I talked about one earlier. If you didn't catch it earlier in the video, check it out. This is going to be the same thing. He saw 14 touches or 19 touches last week, total 14 touches on the ground because they blew him out. They're going to blow him out if Marcus Mariota is out there. And there's possibly they might held out, Terry McLaurin and Debo as well because there's no JD5. They might just tank the game, which would just mean Brashard Smith is a possible 8 to 10 point play, sleeper play at flex. And if Pacheco doesn't fall into the end zone, which I called last week, that was one of my plays, he would have had a monster game last week too. It's so dumb they pulled him at the end of the third. I was like, Pacheco is guaranteed 15 plus points and a touchdown, and his rushing prop was my lock of the week. All of them hit except the 15 points because he didn't even play down the stretch. So that's what we could be looking at here again. This game could get totally out of hand. The Chiefs look unbelievable with Rashee Rice back. It is going to be a nightmare to stop them. And Brashard Smith is a sneaky flex play, low-end flex play this week for me. Thanks for rocking with me, guys. That is the end of the episode. That is every running back you should start, flex, high-end, low-end flex, or sit this week heading into week 8 to help you guys dominate. Remember, we are 7 weeks away from the playoff, guys. It is time to lock in. Now, if you guys have any questions as well, it doesn't pertain to this video, make sure you drop them down below if you can't make the live shows. I try to answer every single one of them. As always, guys, on your way out, make sure you help me out. Tap that thumbs up, hit that subscription button, turn that bell on. Again, I'll be live Thursday for the first Start Sit show of the week, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And then on Monday, we recap, look where we were right, where we were wrong, and like to be transparent for you guys so I can be better with my calls for you guys. So, and then again, if you guys haven't checked out drafters.com or the Guys FF Discord, it is pinned in the comments at the very top. It is also in the description of the video. If you want to talk fantasy football with us 24/7, that is the place to be. That's it for me in this episode, guys. The quarterbacks are out. My wide receivers and tight ends will be next. And then tomorrow I'll dive into my rankings as well. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. Can't thank you enough for all the support. Sleazebomb out. I'll catch you in the next one.